Hi everybody, Mr. Hominoid down here in Down Under. A friend of mine over there in Texas just sent me a video that was on the news, and they're showing over there in America how Australia is having riots and all that, and the police are throwing people up against the wall. Well, that was down in Melbourne, not up here in Sydney. So Melbourne's always had more of a police state than New South Wales. So no, we don't have that sort of thing. What I think in the story, the guy was nationwide manhunt for a guy that sneezed in an elevator. Well, so there we can see a guy there. He's got his dog. He's taking it for a walk, and he's got a face mask on. If you walk on the street, you're going to wear a face mask, but not while you're driving, because you're in a car, so nobody can get really close to you. I also made a complaint about how the supermarkets weren't wiping down the elevator buttons, and yet they were saying to people, you've got to wear a face mask and blah blah blah, and yet everybody was pushing the button in the elevator to take the groceries down from the local supermarkets. So now they've got somebody up there wiping them down. And yet last time, a year ago, they were there automatically. So they got it all wrong again. But all this is stemmed, I believe, I might be wrong, please leave a comment, tell me if I'm wrong. It's from that one aeroplane, a cargo plane that came over here from Pakistan, and the New South Wales government never put the staff into quarantine off the cargo plane. They went, stayed in a normal hotel, they caught a limo service, and that limo driver then caught the train home, and he then infected everybody else on a public passenger train, which was full of people. And of course, we weren't having to wear face masks back then, so that's why everybody caught it. Now I've got a red MP plate up my bum, I'm going to let him go past. You're about to see a red car go flying past. This is what you get from impatient people. See, two P-platers. We have what they call learners, which is yellow with an L, a red P. You do that for so long, and then you go on to green. Now there goes a yellow L plate. So you can't say with that tight here in New South Wales. We've got a learner still going out learning how to drive, but you're only allowed to go 5k's from home for a good excuse. Well, a good excuse is he's going out learning how to drive because he's got to seek employment after the COVID crisis is over. Now this is coming down here. So as you can see, the roads aren't really busy. There's a kangaroo sign if you didn't see it. And yes, I nearly hit a kangaroo just down here. We'll go in the park here, we'll have a look. And there goes a bloke on his bike. He's got his face mask on. Now let's see how many people are down here. Now I've got another car up my backside again. I'm going to pull out. I don't like cars up behind me while I'm recording, because they don't realise I'm recording, because they're in their own little world of whatever they're in. See? Now look, she's racing down into a dead-end car park. It's supposed to be out here to relax. So no, it's not martial law. So look, there's two girls there with a dog, and they've got a face mask on, and they're walking the dog. Now we've had a bit of rain, so that's why they're not walking there in the grass, because it's a bog hole. Let's have a look. I'll grab the camera. So look, you can see there's water over there. So look, there's still plenty of people around. Not plenty, but actual fact, I'd say there'd be more people out here now with the COVID, because it's, you know, the only place where you can really go without being close to somebody. Now this is Whalan Reserve, W-H-A-L-A-N Reserve, and they done all this up a couple of years ago. So they built that big new toilet block and amenities thing over there, and there goes our local ranger. Look, he's over there doing his whatever he does. And there's other people there. And so there goes another bloke with his dog. Because nobody wants to walk around their streets. So you'll just come down the park and, well, you know what people are like. You're people yourself. I mean, you're not aliens from another planet. So if I have any aliens from another galaxy watching this video in their little Star Trek Enterprise, leave me a comment. Yeah, anyway. See, look, see, we had a big amount of rain. So they're riding their bikes. So he's got his little whatever he's doing. And that's about it. So, no, it's not like Melbourne. This video clip over that was shown to me on this TV thing over in New York, and they shot the dogs or something. I don't know anything about that. I will look into that. I don't think that was in New South Wales. I think that might have been in Victoria. Victoria is a very small state down the bottom of the end of the country, and it's a weird sort of state geographically, because once you hit the Murray River from New South Wales, it's dead flat. It's like that. You're just dead flat. And you go all the way into Melbourne, it's dead flat. And then when you get down the bottom end of Australia, in the Melbourne Port Melbourne, then it starts getting a little bit hilly. And then to the east of Melbourne, there's hills. But to the west of Melbourne, it's all dead flat. And Melbourne originally was Australia's capital. Originally, a lot of people don't realise that. Some people think Sydney is Australia's capital, but it's not, and never was. Originally, Melbourne was Australia's capital because the amount of gold was found out at Bendigo in Ballarat, and they had all the gold there. So all the sailing ships come from England and America, and the big gold boom. So they made Melbourne the capital. And then later on, after decades of years, they then decided to make the ACT, Australian Capital Territory, which is a state, which is a territory within the state of New South Wales. And they built the first Australian Parliament House down there at Canberra. That's the original Parliament House. And then after that, then they built the big new one, which you always see on TV with the big pole sticking up. But originally, Melbourne City was the first Australian capital territory. Melbourne, sorry, was the original first capital, and then it came Canberra. Sydney's famous for the Harbour Bridge and winning the Olympics. Melbourne's had the Olympics. Brisbane's had the Commonwealth Games. I think Brisbane could have had the Olympics. I can't remember. I'm getting too old. But anyway, just a little chat from down here, down under here in Australia. So long to the famous CB over there in Austin, Texas. Hello, CB. And all the other people I know out there on the channel. So this is the weather. It's about 14 degrees Celsius, which is, I'm just wearing a bloody, not even sweating, nothing. There's no sun out. Kids have now got to wear face masks. They didn't let the kids wear face masks. Now they have to wear face masks because the stupid government, and I'll say stupid government, said, all the adults have got to wear face masks, and the kids were allowed to run around without washing their hands. The kids were around, no face masks, they're playing in the parks, and then they were getting contaminated off other kids, off another family, and then they go around and give it to their families. And the government didn't realise that, hello, COVID-19 does not discriminate. It's like the old-fashioned AIDS virus. It didn't discriminate whether you're black, white, gay, straight, Chinese, or whatever. So the government finally woke up to themselves. Our Australian government is a bit backward, but then they try to get it right, but they never will. Like, look at our Premier, New South Wales Premier. She's got a surname like Berejiklian. What's that? Ukrainian, Czechoslovakian, some name like that? Polish? I don't know. She's not even married. She had a boyfriend, and he got done for corruption, and he lived down in Goulburn or down in Canberra. And she lives up here in Willoughby in Sydney. We're Liberal government here in New South Wales. And down there in Victoria, it's a Labor government. And that's the guy you see in that footage. He's a Labor leader. And he stuffed things up, and then he got it right, and then it's all stuffed up again because of that one cargo plane from Pakistan. Now, we all know that Pakistan is right next door to India. And look at the death toll in India. Well, it's just come over the border, and they picked it all up, got on the plane, brought it over here, now it's over here in Australia. And then one silly guy and his 3 sons drove from Sydney, contaminated with COVID-19. They drove from Sydney up to Byron Bay, and they got Byron Bay now infected. So Byron Bay, Ballina, Murwillumbah, Tweedheads, all around the Queensland border, up around Casino, Lismore, where the solar powered train is at Byron Bay, the world famous solar powered train, which I helped get started back in 2006. I walked the train tracks up there at Byron Bay. I did all the bridge surveys. That's all now, it's under COVID lockdown. So whether or not people are still getting on it, I think the locals can catch it, but they've got to sit apart like a local passenger train down here. But this is just what we do all day, every day. Nothing. Sit home, watch TV and eat. Now, if you want to move house, yes, my next door neighbours, they're moving out today. They've had a gut pull. They're moving from this red zone to another red zone. So they got the permit to move from one red zone to another. Without having to go into quarantine because they're already in this red zone. But if you move out in the country and it's not a red zone in a certain area, well, then you have to quarantine at home for a certain period of time. It's all in the New South Wales State Government COVID-19 lockdown laws. So you can Google it on the internet, New South Wales Government. Anyway, that's about it there from me, from Mr. Omanoy down here in Sydney, Australia. Yeah, lovely great big goose, a couple of magpies. And all those that are interested, we have our big buck kangaroo hanging around up here. Let's go up here and have a look. Now this is how close these city suburbs are. Now this car park is under Blacktown City Council. Now Blacktown was in that video story because it had Blacktown written in the story. I noticed that on the headlines. Right, now Blacktown's 10 k's away. So this is their boundary line right there on the left. Those trees over there, that's a creek. So now you might notice the roads too. You'll see they're different. So this is Blacktown City Council. They put up new park amenities. They put up new guardrail and that new fence post there on the left, and all the rest of it. Now once I hit the creek down here, so that's Blacktown City Council. They always tell Blacktown City Council because they've got the green sheds. They tend to paint their sheds green. I don't know why, but they do. Right, you see that sort of fencing? Right, that's Blacktown City Council. Now, there should be a big sign here. What's this say? See? City of Blacktown. Right? Better put our blinker on, people. Don't want to get a ticket. Now, once we come over this creek, we're now under Penrith City Council. That's right. Here's the creek. There's the boundary. And there we go. Welcome to Penrith City Council. Now, we have our big mate here. It's a big red kangaroo. Eastern grey. And every night, about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I'll show you what he does. All the locals know about him. Now, you're going to find this hard to believe, but there's a public bus stop, right? Now there's Boronia Road, and this big grey kangaroo, he comes out and he sits just there. He comes hopping out of those trees, and he sits over there where those cars are parked. He sits there, eats that bit of green grass, and twice within 1 week I nearly cleaned him up. And then what he jumps across the road and he goes over there. And I'll show you where he goes. I think he's a lone buck. So this is what he does. He comes out of that scrubland and then he comes down through here. Now, this is the other side of the creek, but now this is Penrith City Council. Now, if you haven't noticed, you'll see the fence poles are green. Where over there they were silver. Let's see if we can stop so you can see it. So they're painted green. It's just funny how things work out. And we don't have the toilet amenities or anything like that over here. But you might notice the roads are painted different. So you've got this parking bay all the way along here. So anyway, this kangaroo comes up here and people have got trails through that creek. There's the creek over there, the one that we went over the boundary line. And you'll see there's a couple of bush bloke people over there in the background. I don't film people. I don't like filming people, but say even from here, you don't have to adults or kids or whatever they are. I don't care, right? You just see there's see, and there's Penrith City Council toilets, totally different type. Oh, there you go, pair of adults, right? Now what these kangaroos do, he goes up here and he hops up there and goes underneath that, and that's the railway line. There's the railway line that goes between St Mary's and Mount Druitt. And he goes up pooting up there through there. He goes underneath the railway tracks underneath the creek. About 8 o'clock every night. One great big grey male. Now this is another joke story. This is called Kurrajong Avenue. Now I'll just show you something that looks funny. So if you want something to do while you're bored sitting there with COVID-19 or wherever you are around the world, you want to see something funny. I actually had a meeting about 8 years ago on the council. Sorry, at a Labor government meeting, right? This is Kurrajong Avenue, right up to here. And then it comes around the corner here, and that's where it's supposed to go. See? But now we hard left, right? Now this is called Boronia. Now if I turn into here, you can look back there at the intersection and you can see the type of road. Right, the money has already been allocated. See, there's the storm drain. There's the storm drain, which is to the right of the road. That there was meant to be the road. And if you look at that, then they put the power pole there. But if you look on Google Earth, you'll see there's another Kurrajong Avenue over there at Mount Druitt. See? Now look, there goes the police car now, look, see? That's a police car. See? I'm not getting into trouble because I'm sitting in my car and I'm not near anybody. I'm by myself. And that's what they're doing. They're patrolling everywhere, looking out for people that don't have face masks on, walking down the road. That's about the 4th police car I've seen in the last half an hour. There he goes. He's gone way down there. Right down there where I stopped and talked about the kangaroo. Right, so anyway, let's get back onto this. So this Kurrajong Road Avenue here, we're supposed to go down through there. They join up with the Kurrajong Avenue in Mount Druitt. And then at this Labor meeting, they turned around and said, the guy that was there from Blacktown City Council, he turned around and said, oh, we already allocated the money to build a bridge across there over to the boundary of the creek 50, 60 years ago. And the lady who was in Penrith City Council, running to get elected as well under Labor, she said, well, Penrith City Council's also allocated the money to build the road from this side. And I said to the pair of them, I said, you two know each other? They said, yeah. So I said, why haven't you built the road? If the money's been allocated, why don't you build the road? Because if you actually get out there and look, and you see this Kurrajong Avenue, if they completed it, it would save you a 10-kilometre drive to get from here across the other side of that South Creek parallel to the railway line. Because you have to drive up to Brinket Avenue, up around whatever the other road is, down Luxford Road, back down another road, then back onto Kurrajong Avenue and come back. It'd save you 8 kilometres by driving across this 1 kilometre just here. And yet they both said they allocated the money 60 years ago. So if it's been allocated, where is it? Why don't they build it? That's how stupid they are. Don't you love politics? Yeah, people doing planning. This is just a little drive around the Sydney North St Mary's, so just to give you a quick look. See, plenty of houses here for lease. The old guy used to own that. He died. Oh. And check this out. There's a police wagon way down the road. Let's have a look. So the paddy wagon's parked. Right, you can't see him yet. Right behind the red car. There he is. So there's the paddy wagon. We call it paddy wagon. He's parked down the road. Anyway, that's it there from me, Mr. Hominoid. I'm going to go have my sausage roll. I'm allowed to go to the corner shop. And, whoop, sorry about the phasing out. So, you see, people there walking down the road. They've got their face masks on. But I'm driving, I don't need them while I'm driving. So there's still people around. We're not locked up in jail. But that guy sneezed in the elevator, that was in Melbourne. Melbourne's a very compact sort of city. Once you go to the edge of Melbourne, have a look at Melbourne on the Google Earth, and you'll see that it's a big industrial area right on the edge of town. Then the next thing you know, it's flat ground. There's nothing there. It's just bush, right? It's mainly sheep country. Victoria was mainly set up for sheep industry, wool and textiles like that. Whereas New South Wales was cattle and grain, corn, wheat, and all the other stuff. Anyway, see you later. Hope you enjoyed that. Say, look, she's doing the right thing, isn't she? A good girl. Our favourite North St Mary's shops. And don't forget, if you're ever in North St Mary's, check out the famous bakery. All right. They know me by name, but not as Mr. Hominoid. So from Mr. Hominoid down under, keep safe, take care, look after yourselves. Look at little pop plants, aren't they pretty?